I'm checking with my Gmail account.
Okay, now we should be live. I think we're good. Can someone check whether we're live on the public URL?
I'm still checking. Yeah, I see my
Hmm?
I'm checking with my Gmail account.
Okay, now we should be live. Perfect. Okay, so again, we have quite a few members of our team here, and this is our hopefully many regular live stream. We should monitor for confidence, and you have the public URL. If you see any comment, let us know.
Can we get on headphones so there's no echo?
Yeah, I'm not sure why we are
lose. So yeah, if you're not stay on mute. I think you might need to.
Okay. Do we still have some echo? No.
No, he's muted now. Okay. More first-time blushes. It's fine. Okay, so what's our agenda today, guys? We're going to talk about our Q3 accomplishments and then talk about the protocol upgrade. What else should we talk about? Well,
yeah, I guess. Why is the plenty price down so much?
Okay, we'll also talk about that. Very good. So let me share my screen for a little bit. Let's see what we did in the previous quarter. You guys see my screen?
Yep, you can see it.
Okay. So first of all, we celebrated our 4th birthday. We're 4 years old. Very nice to have made it. Most tech companies or startups don't make it past the 1-year mark, or definitely the 3-year mark. We're at the 4-year mark, so that's great.
I think the magic might be that we're bootstrapped and not VC funded. So not that we have less pressure to deliver, but we deliver on a pace that makes sense to us and products that make sense to us, as opposed to being beholden to an external entity that doesn't necessarily share the same values.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. We have the kind of flexibility that lets us work on the projects that we really make sense to us. So yeah, overall Q3, lots of incremental improvements, right? Like we didn't start working on a new project within the Devil ecosystem. We didn't make any radical departures. We just sort of made improvements across the board as much as we could. So this is our Medium article that went out about Q3. The image proxy was the first item on the agenda. So the content proxy. Why do we have a content proxy? What does that have to do with NFTs? Who wants to take this one?
Sorry, I was on mute. Right, so media proxy is cool and interesting. It accomplishes 2 things for our users. One is content moderation. So we have an automated system in place to classify images, to flag various types of objectionable content. And this is useful because on a blockchain, it is easy to inject an NFT into someone's collection, which will make it appear in that person's collection without them taking any action to acquire the NFT. And you can spam people with possibly upsetting content this way. So in Galleon, since we feed our content requests through the media proxy, they will get flagged. So that's one. 2, the media proxy also has a caching service. So for NFTs, for example, that have high number of editions, with many holders, many owners, load times will be significantly improved. And for that matter, if you open Galleon today, you look at your NFT collection and you open it tomorrow, this content may still be in the cache and it will be served to you more quickly than directly from generally IPFS.
Yeah. Really, our hope is multiple Tezos ecosystem projects adopt this content proxy, and the whole NFT experience is safer and more fun for everybody. And there's no censorship. It's all meant to ensure that people provide consent for the content that they view. So no content is ever censored out. And those who wish to view all the NFT content they have can do so. There's a lot of abuse. There's a lot of fraud that's possible with NFTs, and hopefully this fixes it and it makes NFTs on Tezos even more compelling. So with that said, Siddharth, is your setup working okay? You think we can do a quick demo?
Yeah, is my my voice is it still echoing or it's okay?
No, it's good. No, it's good.
Okay, let me just share my screen. Is my screen shared?
Yes, all good.
Yes, all good.
Fine.
It's a bit blurry.
It's a bit blurry, but it's very high.
Yeah, because I've got a network issue as well, so that's why I think. But should I continue or should I wait for the blurry part to calm down?
I think this might be a bit blurry. So
okay, fine. So maybe yeah. Well, then I'll stop that.
Yeah, and
yeah, because my audio, everything is a bit messed. Yeah.
Okay, but that's fine.
But that's fine.
After we're done.
Wait, I can't even hear you guys very well.
We'll go through that later.
Okay, yeah, let me just stop sharing my screen.
And you should mute. Cool. All right, I'll resume sharing. Okay, so we did a bunch of work with Galleon. Mike, would you like to provide an overview of all the Galleon work we did?
Wow, what did we do with Galleon? Let me see.
Well, it's right here in front of you.
I like to go by my GitHub commits, so give me 1 second. Cool, so we had a bunch of releases in Q3. As you said, there were incremental improvements, but really these are quality of life changes that make Galleon and by extension Tezos easier to use and a more pleasant experience overall. A lot of the stuff that we did had to do with NFTs, as you mentioned. So not only did we add the media proxy, we also added just more general NFT functionality. You can send NFTs, you can view them. We have a new gallery view, which is very nice. You can preview videos now. We added support for trading within Galleon for KeeperSwap and Dexter. Of course, Dexter now has nearly zero liquidity, so that's being phased out. Many, many more tokens got added. So there's plenty, HDAO, Callum, the entire wrap family, lots of tokens that you can trade on the various DeFi projects are now available in Galleon. And what you can do is view your balances, send these balances, and for many of them, trade them, as I said, on KeeperSwap. We also support the Calibri ecosystem of tokens. So there is KUSD itself, there's KDAO, and so on. We also have a way for you to harvest both Plenty and Calibri farms automatically with a single click. Let's see. Related to this, we improved beacon support to render more operations in a user-friendly way, so that you don't have to read the contents of the operation yourself to figure out what you're trying to do. This is the way I see it, really is a security feature. We surface the intent of the app you're interacting with to make sure that the transaction being processed is the transaction you actually wanted to execute. Let's see, during the same time, there was also the Granada upgrade, and we support the Granada swap for TZBTC. That is the AMM that is part of the liquidity baking process. So you can trade TZBTC with it, and you can stake your TZBTC balance there as well. What else did we do? Yes, we added beacon signature support. This is useful for services like TZ Profiles and some others that when connecting a wallet to the dApp, they require a signature. This is an additional verification to confirm that the account being served to the dApp is indeed under your control. I have seen uses for this that don't really make sense to me. I guess this is kind of an aside. If I'm connecting a wallet to a dApp, there's no reason to actually confirm that I control the account most of the time, because I'll be performing operations. If I'm performing operations on behalf of this dApp through Galleon, Galleon is responsible for signing it anyway. So connecting with some account, really all it does is associates my IP address with that account for a third party in a very strong way, because if I provide a signature with an account, most certainly I control the private key. Other than that, we cleaned up the UI and made some small bug fixes otherwise, but that's really the bulk of it.
Awesome. Yeah, so lots of Galleon is evolving with the ecosystem. That's really cool. And is there anything that you want to demo, Mike, from Galleon or Galleon Mobile right now?
I am not prepared to do so, but
We do have some videos coming.
We do have some videos coming, which I'm working on. And they'll have all this stuff. They'll have beacon stuff and NFT stuff, maybe some other stuff. We'll see.
Awesome. So moving on to Consay now. So Consay in Q3, lots of activity. We delivered a whole bunch of features, as you guys can see. And there's a whole litany of them. But most importantly, we added support for metadata for FA2 contracts, especially NFTs. We have a lot of stuff with big maps, again, for time traveling through NFT balances, token balances. There's a bunch of other features that we have in response to feedback from developers and users. And as the Tezos ecosystem matures and there are more and more tokens, it's really important to index them in a responsive and quick manner. So hopefully some of these recent changes will allow us to move really fast. If someone launches a new token, they don't have to wait for a Consay release. We just have to sort of make an online update, and Consay will start indexing the new tokens. So there's lots and lots of changes on the Consay side. And unfortunately, they've just accumulated. We've been so busy that we haven't been able to actually release these changes. But now that we're working on it, we're actively release testing. Previously, every time we started release testing, something or the other came up. We had to add a new feature, but now we're kind of doing a feature freeze, and we're determined to get a release out no matter what.
What's a feature freeze? Is that the opposite of feature creep?
It's the opposite of feature creep. Feature creep was what was killing us so far. We kept adding new stuff, and now it's feature freeze. We send the developer off to a nice holiday in the Black Sea or the Baltic Sea. so that no further progress is possible. So we're forced to release this. Word about Consay.js, Mike?
So Consay.js is fairly stable lately. We did make a few changes to operation estimation because Granada introduced some changes to that. We're adding support for Handro because there are new Mickelson pieces there. I think a few people reached out from the community where they wanted additional features, mostly exposing our internal functionality, which we did. Yeah, there were even a couple of external PRs submitted, which is always exciting. We're very happy to accept pull requests from third parties.
Very nice. Let's just look at some other stuff from the update. We're doing user testing right now. Actively, I think we closed our user test and we're at the analysis stage. So the idea is to, or the idea was to pick some representative personas from the Tezos ecosystem and outside of it, and really understand how they interact with Tezos or how they heard about it, stuff like that, just to understand our user base better, so that it pulls our whole product stack, especially Galleon, forward. I don't think we have a designer on today, so more details next time, hopefully with some fine-grained analysis. We also help with the Tez Asia hackathon, which seems to have been very, very successful. So I think we can be appreciative of all the work that the Tezos India Foundation has done. So a lot of people seem to participate. We offered mentorship. Just like last year, we did our part. So that feels good. Should we talk about infrastructure lastly, and about how the infrastructure usage has been absolutely exploding? We're just getting pounded. It's both a good and a bad thing. We probably, Tassine, would you say we scaled up our infrastructure twofold, fourfold, or eightfold?
Somewhere between 2 and 4. I don't remember exactly how many, but like it's grown by a lot, and it's super exciting to see how many requests we're getting per week. I think we're around like the 500 million mark per week.
Yeah.
Requests. So it's pretty cool.
I think it's at least 4x, definitely more than 2x.
Yeah, we're seeing numbers that we never thought was possible. Like just last year, the numbers that we're seeing now would have felt a little bit crazy. And honestly, we're struggling to keep up just because there's so much demand coming in. So we're constantly firefighting behind the scenes. But that's a good sign, I think. As a tech company, you kind of do want to struggle a little bit because you're getting too much demand. So things are calm again on the infrastructure front, but it was both good and bad.
I think maybe it's worth going into details a little bit as to why we're seeing additional traffic. And I poke at the chain randomly just to see what people are doing, to see what contracts are popular, to see what the use cases are. And I noticed that there is a significant increase in automated operation activity, meaning that I want to say there may be 6 distinct developers that have written several kinds of bots. And these bots submit a large volume of operations, a significant chunk of which fail because these bots end up competing with each other. So what kind of bots am I seeing? There are people trying to arbitrage KeeperSwap against Plenty. To some extent, they're trying to arbitrage Vortex as well. And Granada Swap for TZBTC. And there's also several bots that are automatically collecting NFTs. And that's been a source of frustration, I think, for for many really human participants on the Tezos chain in the NFT collection game, because, well, if you look at Twitter, lots of people are upset that they can't get the NFTs they want to get because these bots snap them up very, very quickly. So this is a significant chunk of traffic. I don't know how much of it necessarily our nodes are seeing, but there's not a lot of high availability infrastructure that's public. So there are the nodes that we run. There are the nodes that the foundation runs. Madfish has some. I don't know how deep their node pool is. I don't know if it's bigger or smaller than ours. Who else? SmartPi has nodes as well. But again, I don't think infrastructure offering is their primary goal here. I think they're offering infrastructure specifically because they have an online IDE and they want to be able to help people test their contracts against not just mainnet, but also multiple protocols, which is why they offer their own services. I'm sure I'm forgetting someone. Oh yes, Giganode. But Giganode recently transitioned. It's unclear what state it's in right now, at least unclear to me. So yeah, this is a big reason why we're seeing more traffic.
Yeah, and looking at the analytics, there's generally a lot of user demand, so people using Plenty and people using the SmartLink products. So there's just all kinds of organic user demand, which reflects activity happening on other blockchains as well. But yeah, it's a challenge, but we've been dealing with it. It's a good problem to have, and as Tezos grows, I think it's going to be an ongoing problem for us, and we'll keep rising to the challenge. Cool. So I think we went over the whole Q3 report. On the personnel side, we also have Vincent on the team. Vincent, would you like to say hello and just kind of talk about what you do here?
Sure. So I joined Cryptonomic recently, and I'm basically doing some product management and as well business development. So it's great to see all these projects progressing in parallel of each other, and it's super exciting to see that we have people going from all background and with many different use cases that want to our help to grow the Tezos ecosystem, and I'm very happy to be here today.
Awesome. Looking forward to all your updates in the coming streams. Tassine, are you ready to go?
Yep.
Okay, so let's do a little demo. Let's do a little demo of the content proxy. So again, just for background, the purpose of the content proxy is to make sure that people, when they look at, especially at NFTs, they have a choice on whether they view sensitive content or not. So with that said, Tassine, please demo away.
Cool. So yeah, this is a kind of an idea of what the image proxy, like what a use case would be. So suppose I have some website or a wallet like Galleon, and I want to view an NFT, but I don't know necessarily what's behind that NFT. So this is just like an example image that we've been using, our boy David.
It's a famous dick pic. Sorry, I could not resist.
Yeah, it's yeah. But as you can see, since this request is going through the image proxy, it gets blocked. And so the image is blocked due to the following labels, and it's suggestive and explicit nudity, which I think you could say are both fair labels. But let's say even still, I wanted to see David really badly. I could force the request and still get the result and see his beautiful face. But suppose it's not, it's a regular image, just to show that regular things can get through the image proxy. It's an image, and here we go. This is a rock, and if he was an NFT, you can see his face. But suppose I thought this was offensive for some reason, I could also go ahead and report this for whatever reason, and the image proxy will pick that up. And if enough people report the same image, it can also get blocked. So yeah, that's pretty much it. One thing we also have is a TypeScript library to help interact with the image proxy. And it's pretty straightforward. We have a bunch of documentation here. And yeah, then that we have our README, which has a bunch of information regarding running it yourself or even connecting towers. Yeah.
Very cool to see. So Galleon Mobile performs pretty much in the same principle. There is an NFT gallery, and if there's sensitive content, it gets flagged, but you can still view it with your explicit permission. Shall we talk a little bit about the tech behind it? So Tassine, what language is it written in, and how does it actually manage to moderate content?
Yeah, so we wrote the image proxy in Rust, which was super exciting because a lot of new things are happening in that space. Thing with Rust is that the compiler is super picky, so once it compiles, you kind of have the peace of mind that it'll work for the most part. So it's I would say it's pretty robust. We've also load tested it, and the image proxy has been handling well so far. The way it moderates the images is by using AWS recognition. So we feed all the images through their model, and that's how we get the moderation labels. And what was the last question? Sorry.
No, you answered the last question, how the
okay.
moderation actually happens. And what was the main technical challenge building the image proxy?
I think so. One thing we're running into now is maintaining state over multiple instances of it, because should we see a bunch of traffic, we want to cache all the images from IPFS, because IPFS is obviously really slow right now. So getting that to work across multiple instances is one challenge that we're facing right now. But in terms of like the core project, I think technically, at least for me, just getting it working with Rust. This is my first project with it, and like, it's just difficult. It's a difficult language. It's a nice but difficult language. So yeah.
That's a really nice overview. Thank you, Tassine. We're adding video moderation also to the content proxy. I guess we can talk about it more next time because that's a whole involved topic. We were supposed to talk about the new protocol, Proto-H, but we sort of need our friend Shomu on the call. Oh, no, I see him. So, Shomu, are you ready to talk about Proto-H?
I can do it. Yeah.
Okay, so Shomu, you've been looking at Protocol H on behalf of the team. What are you most excited about?
Personally, I am really excited about the on-chain views. Like as a contract developer, I think smart contract developer, I think that's going to be pretty useful. Currently, if we want to actually view something, like so I'll just give an introduction to what is going on right now and why it is important. So currently what we have right now is, if you want to view data on a different contract, like a external contract, we need to make a call to that contract, and that contract then makes a call back to us. And basically it means that you need to have multiple entry points and some kind of state management between these different contract calls and stuff, which is pretty complex when when you're making complex contracts that have multiple such view calls to different stuff, right? So this view on-chain view feature would allow you to basically just make a synchronous call to the external contract and get the data immediately, and use that as use the value in the same entry point itself. So it makes it much more simple. You don't have to do this state management between different contact calls and stuff anymore. So it's pretty useful. So I'm pretty excited about that specifically. Yeah, like, and apart from that, there's obviously other improvements that Proto-H brings in. So we have the time lock feature that is coming in, which we're still, like, I'm still exploring, like, what are the possible use cases that might come in. But in general, there are already projects that might benefit from it. So there are projects like auctions that use seal bids and stuff which would probably benefit from this inbuilt time lock feature that is being provided right now. So yeah, so these are the two most important features, like I think would be pretty important for me at least.
So views kind of bring us or bring tethers on parity with Ethereum and other chains, right?
Yep.
In terms of ease of development. But would
Absolutely.
you say time locks are something that set tethers apart? Like, is that something that generally other chains don't have?
So as far as I know, there is no inbuilt time lock feature in Ethereum, at least, like how we are doing, right? Like how Tezos is trying to put it. So I guess that's a unique feature, but at the same time, like the use cases that come up for it would be probably like it's not impossible to implement time lock without having a on-chain like inbuilt time lock feature. So other chains could possibly, other projects could possibly do a time lock thing without actually having this. So it's not impossible to do it on other chains also, but at the same time, having it in the protocol itself makes it much simpler and accessible for everybody.
Yeah, I think that shows some of the promise of on-chain governance. And with every passing protocol upgrade, we see some new sort of built-in features that really start differentiating the Tezos platform. Uh, anything else in there in the protocol that you want to mention, Shomu?
So another thing that I remember is the new caching mechanism that they have added for the contracts. So according to the like documentation that I've read, it should help speed up stuff obviously, and reduce the gas costs for some popular contracts that are being regularly hit. So it's kind of useful for the users from one point, like they have to pay less for the popular contracts that they are regularly calling. So it could be a useful thing.
Yeah. Is there a concern at all that because it's almost like a most recently used cache, there's going to be a sort of bias towards established protocols? So uh, if you already have a liquidity pool, or if you already have something like Plenty, which is being used by so many people, they get a sort of natural advantage over, or any incumbents like Plenty get a natural advantage over newcomers who might, for argument's sake, they might have better technology, but they have a performance hit just because they're not as popular. Is there any winner take all effect that's possible due to caching?
So actually, when I think of it now that you mention it, it might be possible that there's some, so according to the documentation itself, the contracts that are in the cache itself has some, gas optimizations that other contracts that are not in the cache, have, right? So that might cause some disparity in gas fees, but at the same time, it would be like I probably would need to take a deeper look into the product, like how it's implemented itself, to understand that if there are cases where other contracts which are not in the cache would be hit with higher gas fees or something, or comparatively higher gas fees. But there might be a chance where such scenarios happen, where there's a disparity between contracts that are on the cache and basically popular contracts and contracts that are coming in new, like projects that are coming in new. So there might be a case. Yeah, that might be possible.
Awesome. Yeah. I think no better way to really understand this and get the answers than bring up Hongju infrastructure in our backend and start playing with it. So that'll be really interesting to see. Whether there's a genuine concern or not, we'll find out. I think we need to sort of delve into this a little bit more. But again, nothing better than bringing up a node and playing with it, which is always the nice thing about blockchain technology. Cool. Any last thoughts about Hongju? Anyone else got thoughts on Hangzhou?
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Views are really a big deal. It will significantly simplify smart contract construction. It will make it easier to reason about the logic of the smart contract, because right now you have to break up the flow of your code into multiple pieces to callbacks. And if I understand it correctly, with views, you no longer have to do that. It'll just make it so much easier to read contracts, that to audit contracts, and obviously to compose your own. Can't wait. That, I mean, that alone has huge implications.
Yeah, I would strongly agree. So there's good reasons why Tezos has a slightly different architecture for smart contracts calling each other. So reentrancy has been a big problem in smart contract design on Ethereum. Quite a few hacks have been related to reentrancy, so that's why Tezos was architected a little bit differently. But the trade-off has been that it makes sometimes, maybe even often, makes smart contract development awkward, because the whole idea with DeFi and other things like it is composability, right? And composability has been more challenging. So views really ease that burden, and this is something that we've been looking forward to for quite some time. And I think it's going to make our lives significantly easier. Cool. So we still have time. Everything we described so far was related to our public, open source, grant-funded work, thanks to the Tezos Foundation. Should we talk a little bit about the work we're doing for the Stable Tech Initiative?
So we're building a
Sure.
lending platform.
Yeah, we are building a link, so we should talk about it a little bit because we spent so much time on it.
We posted a video.
We even posted
recently.
a video, 2 videos, effectively. So the design we'll probably talk about next week, because Maya, who's been working on the designs, is away. But yeah, on the smart contract side, what have we been up to, Mike?
So we have a version 1 of the lending platform that we've been playing with on the various test nets. And I want to say it works. There are some changes that we're making. Let's call it 1.1. The original design was loosely based on Compound 2. So there's a collection of smart contracts that have their own business functions, and they work together to implement the lending platform. So that's a Compound 2 type setup. The storage structure wasn't great, just for, like, conceptually, it wasn't initially well designed. So we're changing that, and I think once that's done, perhaps as early as the first half of next week, we can probably publish something, maybe the code, likely the deployment on Granada, or maybe Hanjo for that matter, if we bring up a node. Not mainnet, certainly. And we're also working on the UI. The video that we mentioned just a second ago, that's a demo of what the completed UI is going to look like. So it's most certainly a journey to get there, but we have chunks of it already working. We're tying it to the contracts. It's a bit of a moving target, because obviously if we actually, as we use it ourselves as a complete product, we find things that we don't like, things we want to change, streamline, and so on. And at the same time, the smart contracts are going to change. So in addition to this fairly minor storage arrangement change, we're also going to implement views, right, in time for H. So lots of work remains, and once all these things are done, of course, we're going to want to test this to exhaustion, because you want to make sure these things are behaving as expected and no one loses money and so forth. But yeah, it's definitely a challenge. I appreciate the fact that Stable Tech has been talking about this for quite some months, and perhaps the ecosystem participants are quite eager to see it live, but it's not something that I at least feel comfortable rushing.
Yeah, absolutely. Lending platforms are hard. They're complex. And out of all the DeFi products that are out there, I think lending platforms are probably top 3 hardest to build. And especially on Tezos, where there's not yet an established lending platform, I think it's incumbent upon the people who do some of the earliest platforms to be careful and have a measured and successful launch, because as we saw with Dexter, you know, it's important to launch these things, but phasing it correctly and really battle testing it is really important. Dexter obviously was the first. It added momentum to the Tezos DeFi ecosystem, but ultimately it had to be abandoned. And it's not because, you know, the team behind it didn't work hard. It's because this stuff is intrinsically very difficult, and it just shows you the pitfalls of doing cutting edge stuff, especially on a unique chain like Tezos. So yeah, I also understand some of the impatience that we're seeing online, but we absolutely have to get it right. We have to do it completely correctly and roll it out in a responsible manner, because just looking at all the activity, like we talked before, there is a lot of interest, and potentially the total value lot could be quite substantial. Aisha, you've been working on the front end for Tezfin. Or actually, we don't have Aisha anymore. Never mind. Maybe next time. Cool. So TezX continues to run decentralized trustless swaps. We made some minor tweaks. Not sure they're worth really talking about. Anything else Tezos related that we should be talking about this week? What else doesn't have to be cryptonomic, like in general.
1 sec. For TezX, over that period, we did add new pairs, right? So that's kind of a big deal. Another thing that happened, there is another Bitcoin analog that was launched. I don't think it has significant liquidity yet, but the same entity that manages USDTC and ETC now has BTCTZ. USDTZ migrated over to a multi-sig contract. That's a kind of a big deal as well, I think. So yeah, these are also things we've done.
That's I think that's a good overview of pretty much everything that's been going on recently. Vincent, what's new and exciting in the Tezos ecosystem in general?
Good question. Many projects are coming on the spotlight, and one of them is McLaren Racing, right? They just launched, I think, yesterday, some NFTs on Tezos, and you have to collect a part of the car, and then yeah, I found it pretty. It's a good idea, and if you are a Formula One car fan, it could definitely something that will bring the crowd to the NFT world and on Tezos. So yeah, that's one project we have to follow. Vortex was launched right a couple of weeks ago. It's a smart link DEX from the smart link team, and I think Mike, but maybe you know better than me on that, they're gonna launch some AMM pool soon, right? But we don't have a date. But I think it was the next things to come. They are posting, but not so often. So I hope this project as well is gonna grow.
No, the AMM pools are up. Vortex is the AMM.
Yeah, but what was the next product they had?
Farms are coming at some point.
Yes, farming. Sorry, my bad. Yes, the farming.
Yeah, farms are coming at some point. I don't think they have a public timeline for this. There's already staking for the SMAC token, but that's been live, I believe, since the very beginning. So quite a while.
Definitely.
And the AMM has a small but growing collection of pairs. Oh, there was another thing. There's another AMM that launched, right? The WTZ based one.
Ah, okay.
One second, the name escapes me at the moment.
Well, as a lifelong Formula One fan, I'm still not used to watching like I'll watch every race, but when they have the onboards, you see the Tesla's logo on the Red Bull car and the McLaren car. It's kind of cool, but it still boggles my mind to see the Tesla's logo show up in that domain. So far, my weekend and my weekdays were completely separate, but now they're not. It's both good and bad.
Yeah, Vincent and I own Doja Cat NFTs. Never have I thought I could say a sentence that I own a Doja Cat NFT with my colleague.
Yeah, exactly. And it's part of work.
And it's part of work. It was really research.
Yeah, purely research. Cool. I think we covered a lot. It's good for our first foray. You guys think this makes sense to put out also in audio form, like a podcast, maybe?
You're on mute, Mike. But yeah, I mean,
I am the second one when we figure out how not to echo over the call.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's do
when we are
Twitter Spaces, or is that blasphemous to talk about like decentralized open source Jitsi?
Well, we are supposed to do a Twitter space, so I think that's going to follow real soon.
Cool.
Becoming Daisy. Awesome. I think it's time to end the live stream. So everybody say goodbye to whatever audience you're in.
Bye.
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 Bye. Bye.